What is truth? Yes, so that's a good question. So we all belong to this community. So do you have the truth?
Yes.
Well, what did Jesus say? He said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. So do you know the truth?
Yeah, I'm free.
How well do you know the truth?
My wife is always right.
So if you have the truth and you know it, then you are free. Do you feel free?
Yes.
Yeah.
No limitations?
I can't fly.
Well, so we have the divine principle. I had a seminar yesterday. Actually, the more I teach it, the more great I think it is. And actually, the deeper I get into it, the more I realize. So truth, like it's not that it's all finished. Well, you can say the divine principle is a finished book. But the more I teach it, the more I learn things. So it's never ending. So how well do you know of the divine principle?
Working on it.
So my recommendation is keep reading it.
I've read it 100 times.
You have? Okay. So now you're almost perfect, yes. But of course, we also have Father's words. And Father's words explain many things which are not in the divine principle or explain things more clearly or more deeply. But also we have Mother's words.
Yes.
So there are some in this community, because she has brought new words, but that some will only want to listen to Father's words. But actually, both are speaking words of truth. And when I joined this movement, my understanding, for example, we prayed in the name of True Parents, but then it changed to praying in our own name. That was something new. It was hard to adjust, yeah. And then, of course, we were called the Holy Spirit Association for the Unification of World Christianity, or Unification Church. Then we became the Family Federation. So, actually, new things are developed, and the divine principle says that this is only part of the new truth, or the new expression of truth. More is being revealed. So in all the years I've been a member, more is being revealed. So truth, you could say, is there's more. There's always more. I would like to tell you a little story to somehow illustrate what truth is. It's called The Orchard and the Four Voices. So, long ago, in a valley where the mountains bent low to meet the sea, there was a village with an orchard. The orchard was the pride of the people, for its apples were red as dawn, sweet as honey, and plentiful as stars. But one year, the orchard began to wither. The apples shrank, the leaves curled, the branches groaned as if in sorrow. The people gathered in the square and cried, "What has happened to our orchard? What curse is upon us?" Then the voices rose by one to actually explain what is the cause. The first voice was of Elder the hunter. He stepped forward. "I feel it in the air. I see it with my eyes. The sun is hotter than before, burning the orchard to ash. Surely it is the heat that kills the trees." And the people murmured, Yes, we feel the heat too. Surely it must be so." But then a second voice. Mira, the healer's daughter, stood tall. No, in my family we cure every sickness with herbs and charms. These trees are ill. Just as men are ill, we must chant to them, bind roots with rosemary and whisper spells of healing. And the people nodded. Yes, herbs cure us. Surely they will cure the trees. But then a third voice came forward. Thomas the miller. He lifted his arms. In the market, the people whisper. In the tavern, they speak low. They say, a witch has cursed the orchard. So many tongues repeated, it must be true. And the people gasped, yes, we have heard it too. Surely it is the witch. Then a fourth voice. The last came the old Aman the sage, bent with years but strong in memory. Aha! The scrolls of the ancients tell us when crops fail, the gods are displeased. We must do as they did in the olden days, bring sacrifice, spill blood, appease the heavens. And the people shuddered. Yes, yes, the ancestors know the best. Surely this is the way. So who was telling the truth? They argued through the night and into the dawn, one voice saying the sun, another the herbs, the curse, the sacrifice. But among them was a girl named Leora. Leora, quiet as the river's edge, she said nothing. She listened. She waited. And when the crowd grew weary, she slipped away into the orchard. She walked into the orchard alone. Instead of trusting rumour, tradition, or hasty judgment, she bent to the soil and examined the roots and studied the leaves. At the roots, she saw beetles. At the bark, she saw teeth marks. At the leaf, she saw crawling pests. She noticed things that no one else had looked closely enough to see. She returned to the square and spoke softly. The trees are not cursed. The trees are not burned. The trees are not waiting for a sacrifice. They are eaten by small creatures. We should protect the roots, cleanse the bark, and they will live again. At first, the people scoffed, but Leora showed them how to drive the beetles away, how to tend the soil, how to guard the trunks. And in time, the orchard blossomed once more. Red apples filled their baskets, sweet fruit filled their bellies, laughter filled the valley. And so the people told this tale. Beware the voices that cloud the mind. See with clear eyes, and the truth will be revealed. So, this is a story. So all of these four people, they will represent something I will call idols that cloud the mind, not based upon facts. And so we look to this man, Francis Bacon, and I was inspired. He's a philosopher who lived 400 years ago, and it's actually Haider, who is himself a philosopher, who was keen that I kind of share these ideas because it's very much to do with truth. He was a philosopher, a writer, and a scientist, and his way of thinking is a big part of what we now call the scientific method. And we can say this girl, Leora, she was being quite scientific because she was examining the trees and finding out, well, what's the cause, rather than just having some crazy idea that I feel this, or it's the witch, or it's a curse. Yes? So he wrote a book called Novum Organum in 1620. And he outlined his method for improving human understanding and overcoming intellectual errors he called the four idols. Errors in human thinking that prevent us from gaining true knowledge. And he proposed methods to overcome each one through careful observation, critical reasoning, and the scientific method. And as it said, he called the idols because they are illusions that hold sway over the mind, much like false gods. And he said, human beings have these kind of illusions. So when we we can read the divine principle, or we can listen to father's words or mother's words, but actually our minds, we can colour what we read based upon how we perceive reality. So, four idols, what are they? Errors in thinking. The first one is the idol of the tribe, group thinking, we all think the same. And then the idol of the cave, like we only see, if we're in the cave, we only see through our narrow lens. And then the marketplace is about words, how, on the internet there are many words that are used, and but they can be used carelessly. And then old ideas, the theatre. Theatre is an illusion of reality. So we have old ideas which we believe in, but we need to be open to new ideas. So let's look more closely at these four. So the tribe, errors common in human nature, which I would call fallen nature. the fallen mind. Okay? So Francis Bacon said, we distort reality because of the limitations of the human mind and the tendency to project it onto truth. Yes? He says it's like a false mirror distorting reality. And we tend to project these patterns and we expect things which are not there. We see things that are not there because we feel it, but we don't actually go into detail to find out what really is there. So, what about the COVID-19 vaccine? Did you all take the vaccine? I didn't. And actually, some people thought, what's wrong with you? Yeah? You have to take it. But I don't want to take this vaccine. I have my free will. But, all the voices shouted, yes, you must take it, you must take it. And if you took it, I'm not against you. But, like in America, the people in the military, they were told, you have to take it, otherwise you'll be kicked out of the military. Yeah? And in Canada, these truck drivers refused to take it, and then they protested, and then their bank accounts were cancelled. So it's like, it's very easy to judge. It's like kind of a group thinking. Yeah? So it's like we're all different, and should be able to choose things, but ourselves. But it's like when I talk about these errors common in human nature, we project what we think truth is onto others. But this is more like general. And I'm not against the vaccine if that's what you want to do. It's more that the whole world, I think, was very much fear created from this COVID-19. And people did die, and if it helped them, okay. But it was like hysteria. Yeah? What about the cave? These are areas of personal bias. Each person is trapped in the cave of their own background and experiences and education. So I come from England. You're English? Very good. I like English people.
Me too.
So we all come from different backgrounds. Therefore, the way we see things is from our perspective. So here we have a Swedish man and an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Yes, you're an immigrant as well. How many immigrants are here today?
Yay.
How many Swedes are here today? So, actually, we perceive through our own lens. It's actually very good for Sweden to have foreigners, because then it expands the mind of the Swedes. But it's very good for us foreigners to come here, because it expands our mind. Yeah. So I would say, lagom is a very common view of life. Is lagom the truth?
It's the Swedish truth.
It's the Swedish truth. Okay. So when I came to Sweden, maybe I was thought more extreme, because I'm not lagom. But maybe I become more lagom. But it's like you adjust. Your personal views are adjusted when you interact with other people. The marketplace. Errors caused by words. Words can confuse, oversimplify, or mislead, leading us to believe we understand something when we don't, because words can be used very superficially. Labels can be put on people. Okay? So here we are, the Sweden Democrats, Jimmy Åkesson. What has the Sweden Democrats been accused of? Racist. Yeah, you're racist. Or you're extreme right. Actually, I've noticed that the right-wing parties in Europe are labelled by the media as extreme right, far right. Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh, hey, wait a minute, I quite like some of the things they're saying. And with the Sweden Democrats, is it not right that when they started getting some members of parliament, the other parties refused to talk to them? Now they're part of the government. Yes, and maybe some people in that party are racist, but it's so easy to put a label. Yeah. Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump, but actually the media in Sweden and in America, all over the world, they say he's crazy. I was in this cafe the other day where I live, and there's these old men I talk to sometimes, and one day I said, hey, I like Donald Trump. I said, whoa, he's crazy. and then they didn't want to talk to me. You know, this man who was just shot in America, Charlie Kirk, the media, I would say the mainstream media, say he was very divisive. But actually, from what I understand of him, is he liked to meet people, young people, with differing views. He'd like to actually listen to them and discuss with them. But they put labels on him. And the person who killed him didn't like his ideas. So, the theatre, errors of old traditions. People blindly accept philosophical systems, dogmas, or traditional authorities without testing them. So, blind acceptance. So it's a bit like it's like worldviews that present an imaginary version of reality. So we live in the 21st century. A lot of the traditions, the truth is eternal, but some things from the past are no longer. We talk about, like in religion, men have dominated different religions, and we can say that God has been seen as a masculine God. But now we're understanding actually the feminine, God has a feminine aspect. And actually women are just as equal to men as important. So we live in a different age. But some people, I think it was a golf club in England where it's all men. They don't want women in there. It's their tradition. Yes. And if they change, that's difficult for them. So here we are. Have you heard of the intelligent design? So evolution. So scientists, for now many years since Darwin, believe that evolution is a fact. It's the truth that explains the development of life. Okay? But there's an understanding called intelligent design, which says actually it's not just random occurrences, but actually there's a design within everything. So there's intelligence behind. So how do scientists who don't believe in God react to this? They almost become fanatical religious people because they don't want to listen. Oh, you're talking about God, so we don't talk about God. So it's like they are stuck in their old ways, even though they're scientists. So how do we overcome the four idols? Well, Francis Bacon, as I said, he was the originator, he developed the scientific method. And so he proposed methods to overcome each idol through careful observation and critical reasoning. He encouraged people to ask questions, collect facts, and try experiments instead of just guessing. This way of thinking is a big part of what we now call the scientific method, teaching everyone to investigate the world with their own eyes and hands, not just copy what others said. So this is the scientific method. So what does the introduction of the divine principle teach us about truth, about overcoming ignorance? It says there are two ways that human beings have sought to overcome ignorance: internal truth and external truth. So external truth is through science, and internal truth has been through religion. So we can thank Francis Bacon for being the pioneers of the scientific method. So that's why we shouldn't just come to conclusions without thinking or labeling people from our personal bias. So we also need a spiritual solution. So I'm going to read some of Father's words about what he says, and I'm linking it to each of these four idols. So first of all, the tribe, errors common to human nature, the fallen mind. What does he say? God is supremely selfless and supremely public-minded. Yeah? We have to think bigger. So how did he practice this? Well, his whole life, he lived a sacrificial life for the sake of others. And if we think about when he was in prison 6 times, what was his attitude when he was in prison? Think about when he was in Hungnam labor camp in North Korea. Day after day, he carried sacks of fertilizer and men dropped dead around him. But the natural instinct would be I must survive. Yeah, I must survive. I must escape. But instead, he prayed for others. He prepared to save humanity even as he was starving. So instead of letting selfishness define him, he embodied sacrificial love. So that's what we should do. To overcome our fallen nature, or this errors common to all of this, we should live for the sake of others and overcome our selfish instinct with sacrificial love. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Is this the truth?
Yes.
The cave, errors of a personal bias. So what does he say concerning that? I told you not to think of yourself as bound by nationality. So Korea is his homeland. It was divided by war. So many thought, oh, well, he wants to save Korea. But his mission was not just for Korea, it was for the world. That's why he blessed interracial and international marriages, and he asked Koreans to marry Japanese, Americans to marry Africans, and people across enemy lines. He said God's family transcends race, nation, and culture. So my wife is Swedish. Where is she? Oh, there she is, yes. So are there differences in our thinking? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have advanced, maybe. We have. So we have people of international marriages here. So then we can overcome our personal bias. Our cave thinking, only see life kind of a narrow way. So, but he demonstrated it, and he actually brought people together from many different backgrounds and for the sake of peace. So what should we do? We should see from God's universal perspective, not just our own narrow cave. We are all God's children, creating God's image. And our physical bodies are our external part, but inside of us, God's Spirit dwells. We're all the same. We need to overcome our narrow identities and see the world through God's eyes. The marketplace, errors caused by words. So what does he say about that? Words are so powerful that they can build or destroy the world. Heide was saying to me earlier about Francis, he said, knowledge is power. Was that the right words?
Knowledge is power.
Yes. And words, if you have knowledge, you can use words, and words can be very powerful. So how did he live his life and use words in a good way? Well, actually, he gave us the divine principle. Yes? In a systematic form with precise concepts like true love. Not just love, but what is true love? And living for the sake of others. And describing who God is. Yeah? Explaining about the spiritual and physical world. So he gave very clear explanation and used words precisely. And he gave many speeches, yes, using words, powerful words, to share God's message. So what about Washington Monument Rally? Were any of you at the Washington Monument Rally? No, this was 1976. Actually, I joined the movement just after the Washington Monument Rally. And he spoke about America's destiny as God's chosen nation, and that America had a role to unite the world under God. But it wasn't just talk. He poured all of his energy into this, and he actually, he didn't just say what was convenient. He spoke the truth to wake people up. So, what should we do? Our speech must be clear, principled, and backed by deeds. We actually have to be clear when we speak, and we have to actually put it into practice. And finally, the theatre, errors of old traditions. What did he say about this? Those who believed in the letter of the Old Testament and not the spirit could miss the whole thing. We shouldn't get stuck on words. In our movement, some people get stuck on words. Well, father said this and mother said that. And actually, there's one member of our movement in England. He only listens to father's words. He doesn't like mother's words. And one time he said, either father is lying or mother is lying. I thought myself, So what did Father do? He didn't just stop with divine principle. In the 1980s, he developed Godism, or headwing thought, to go beyond the narrow left of communism and the narrow right of materialistic capitalism. He even met Kim Il-sung, the leader of North Korea, his own enemy, to seek reconciliation, and he was very direct. So what should we do? We should seek living truth directly from God, not cling to dead systems. So when there are changes in our movement, we should be open to new revelation, new understanding. And maybe some members, they get stuck. Jesus said the first will be last and the last will be first. So even if you join first, you have to kind of be open to new ideas. So how do we overcome all four of them? In conclusion, well, this is what he said. Me is the center of hell. You is the center of heaven. Yeah. So if you're focused on yourself, you're in hell. Yeah. But if you focus on, if I'm here for you, I'm in heaven. Yes. I feel good. Good. This is what we can do. When we overcome self-centeredness, like that's the tribe, group thinking, fallen human thinking, narrowness, which comes from the cave, our narrow bias, when we overcome confusion of words, so we understand what words clearly mean and not just send words out without thinking, and if we overcome dogma, meaning rigidity, being rigid in our thinking, then we can see with clear eyes and the truth will be revealed. So in his later years, what did Father do? He started global peace movements, interfaith councils, projects for food and education. So his life became a demonstration of overcoming these limitations and showing humanity the path back to God's original design, the world of true love and true families. So here we have, the truth is contained in all of these, but it's our perception. We have to take away the clouds from our minds. And once again, I return to Jesus' words. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But we need to know it. We need to know it clearly. Not my version of the truth. Mind you, if I was to sit here and have coffee, and we were saying, what is the truth? What's our understanding of divine principle, or what Father says? Because we would have different opinions. Yes? But God wants us to have God's viewpoint. So that's what we should always do, not have a knee-jerk reaction and say, I think this, I think that, but what does God think? Please guide me so I can see things clearly. So with that, I would like to say thank you for listening.